Tuesday, Bobby Fye and Eric Sheets Haber. We're going to be talking through today's monster MLB slate. Like I said before on the show, I didn't play a ton of lineups. I was more focused on the basketball. So the MLB was not good to me last night. I didn't get the right pitching combos with the right hitting combos. Just one of those days. But basketball had some shots and cashed in my biggest buy-in, so I guess it was okay. Sheets, how did you do? Talk a little bit about it, and we'll get into the slate.
I did not do well in Major League Baseball yesterday. I had a chance to just sneak into the money after the Yamamoto win clicked in, but then I think whatever runs scored and to finish the Dodger game put me back below the color line. So yeah,
innings,
yeah. So I did not do well in baseball. I did all right in the basketball. I think I got second or third in one of the bigger buy-in showdowns for like 1,000 or 2 maybe. So that was good. Yeah. But baseball was not my friend.
Yeah, it was a funny night for basketball for sure, and the baseball just was a strange slate that really made me wish that I didn't stack anyone, honestly. Although I guess that Pittsburgh stack came through in the end. Anyway, all right, let's pull up your screen and we'll go game by game here and find out what we're gonna do today. I took a quick look, or I'm taking a quick look at the weather. I actually am a little delayed on that. But I think that we have all the games playing except, because we've got the later slate. Yeah. So I think it's really just Baltimore, right? Yeah. Let me just
so Baltimore is
but that's not on the slate, right?
Oh, okay.
I think only Chicago, Atlanta is just a slightly concerning. Roth wrote it as yellow, so take that for what it is. All right, but we'll touch more on that stuff later. So, what do you have first here? Let's see. Tampa Bay, Boston. What do you like here?
So what do we have? We have Pivetta and Savale. I was imagining that I would get a little more love for Pivetta here, just because again, he always seems to have upside, but I'm not really seeing it. So I'm gonna avoid him for now. And pretty much the same for Savale. Actually, not the same. I don't think I would have gotten any Savale. So definitely none of that. With respect to the hitting, I don't know. I do have Boston rated third best value so far today, so I guess that's okay. And Tampa actually not bad. So all right, I'll start with something. So I will start again. We'll talk about the best play until it gets reversed. So I'm going to start off with Boston for this game. And no pitching.
Yeah, I like Boston a little bit too, and I like Pivetta a little bit. Like I know he had a terrible outing his first start back after the injury, but I think that it's just a way to get different. I don't think I'm going to end up. Actually, I don't know if I'd end up getting to him, but I do think that he's a guy to at least consider as a little bit of a get weird play, but. Look at these K props and they're so low. But I'm more on the Boston side. And honestly, if we're not playing Pivetta, it's a nicer day, in Boston. And maybe some of the lefties who Pivetta's struggled with historically. But the problem is you don't have a whole bunch of lefties on the other side. So I could see myself talking myself into either stack in this game. But I mean, look, last night, honestly, I would have been all over either of these stacks. This would have been the second highest run total last night. Actually, it might have been the highest. So tonight we have some other stuff to get into.
Yeah, you got some real cheap guys from the Red Sox. You have Grissom is 2,600. Romy Gonzalez is 2,400. Dominic Smith is 2,300. There's even a first baseman, which I don't even have here. Cooper is 2,900.
I don't think Cooper would be in the lineup today.
Oh, you don't think so? Okay.
I mean, he doesn't play against righties in general.
Oh, okay. I mean, I haven't projected it, so not because I know he's playing, but that's
it's possible he does, but it would be pretty unlikely that both he and Dom Smith would, but it's possible. All right, Chicago, Atlanta. This is like the one game with a little bit of the it's again the yellow game. It's also, for what it's worth, it's 73 degrees, only 6-mile-an-hour winds blowing in today, so not nearly as bad as it was. And Sheets, I have a feeling you're going to like Atlanta because Jameson Taillon's on the other side, and you always like who's on the other side of Jameson Taillon.
So the wind, so it's good weather, but it'll maybe a little rain, but it's more anything.
6-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from center, but that's not a when it gets to double digits, unless it's Wrigley, like I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, let's start with Chris Sale. I mean, he's at 10K. It's maybe fairly priced. I mean, he looks decent. He's not my top option or anything, but he's certainly up there. I think his ownership is probably a little high for me. I mean, if this 25% number is good, so I don't know if I would do that. I don't think I'm gonna play Talion number one because he's Talion, number two because it's against the Braves. So combine those two and you get what you get. And as far as hitting goes, yeah, sure. I mean, the Braves, they're always in play, and they're always expensive, and it seems to be, kind of a broken record here. But yeah, if I can get to the Braves, sure, I'll play them. I don't know how much I can actually get there, but we'll see. But so far, I'm not going to really, let's put Sale in, okay, because he's certainly better than anybody in the Tampa-Boston game. So I'm gonna start with something. So I'm gonna start with Sale and Boston, like so far.
Right. I'm good with that. I like Atlanta actually. Like I'm looking at like zero ownership, and I think it's kind of interesting. Like
so we like them better than Boston, you think?
Well, in general, I'm always going to pick Atlanta over Boston, just because they're just a much better team, and Boston's offense is not like anything good. That's why these guys are cheap. Right. But they are playing in Wrigley Field with 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left center versus Atlanta, which is also good hitters park, but slight winds blowing in anyway. And Atlanta has not been as great. So you've got, reasonable prices at the bottom of the order.
Kelenic at 2,800, right? Look at that.
Kelenic, Zach Short might get in the lineup. He's 2,100. RC is only 3,500 now. He's the one no one likes to play because he doesn't have the big power numbers. But if you're playing a 5-man stack, you absolutely you don't necessarily need those power numbers, and they're not even that. They're not they're not magical. So I'm in on that again. As I always say with Chris, I don't know what to do with Sale. I watch him, and he looks worse to me than how his numbers are every time. He pitched 6 innings in his last start against his former Boston team at 10 strikeouts. And I didn't think he pitched particularly well. I know the strikeouts are great, but I'm just going to have to suck it up and just not look and play him. To me, he's still, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this thought that some of these numbers might be, I don't want to say fraudulent, but maybe it's not going to continue forever because I just have a hard time believing that after a couple of years, he's just back to being completely the Chris Sale again. I don't know. Maybe I'm being stubborn. But yeah, Atlanta's my favorite part there. So Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, which was interesting. That was the one I didn't get to last night. But looking back, I kind of, not only because it happened, but it just felt like, remember we talked about it on the early look, and it was like, wow, Milwaukee, nobody's going to play Pittsburgh against Colin Ray. And then by the end of the day, people did. But I just thought it was kind of a mistake on my part, maybe not to include them in my pool. All right, what do you have as far as this one goes?
I mean, Joe Ross is 5,200 against Pittsburgh. I mean, if you want to play Atlanta's and Dodgers and Houston's and Texas's and guys like that, or Yankees, it's a pretty decent enough salary saver. I mean, I wouldn't be expecting all that much, but he certainly rates to be an okay point per dollar play. That's for sure. I'm not really getting to Quentin Priester here, and I'm really not getting to any of the hitting. So I'm going to put in Ross just as something to do, but that's where I am in this team.
So shouldn't we consider Priester a little bit? Like, I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers here, and what Priester versus Ross. I think Priester probably. I mean, Ross is probably safer. Priester probably has more upside. I'm open to the weird part. Here I am making a case for both pitchers, but I actually think that both offenses are definitely in play. It's weird that the Pittsburgh run total is so low. And I just want to remind everybody, these stadium upgrades are a real thing. Like, it's a much better hitter's park, especially for lefties in Milwaukee than it is in Pittsburgh. And I kind of think, going after both of these guys is interesting. With the pricing of Milwaukee, I'd be more likely to look at Pittsburgh because Milwaukee's really expensive. If I'm going to play a really expensive offense, I would like to play an elite offense if I could. They've been decent, don't get me wrong, but I still think I'd rather play the Pittsburgh side of things here. And because of some ownership for Joe Ryan and maybe the fact that they don't project to score that many runs, maybe Pittsburgh gets completely left off the map. And I think that they're kind of interesting. So That's probably not necessarily a full stack, but it's definitely pieces I like. That Brian Reynolds broke out of his thing with a monster game last night. I think he had like 45 fantasy points. But you got O'Neal Cruz in there, McCutcheon, Sawinski. It makes a nice, easy, reasonably priced stack. I think I'm in on the Pittsburgh side of it a little bit. All right, New York, Minnesota.
New York, Minnesota. All right. So we have Carlos Rodon. Wow, this is an interesting matchup, huh?
Yeah.
Rodon and Paddock. Listen, let's call it what it is. I mean, Paddock has been the kind of the nuts in 3 of his last 4 games.
Yeah.
It's not like he's even gone that far. Actually,
strikeouts.
He did go. Got 10 strikeouts in 2 of those games.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the Yankees are not going to be as accommodating, though. You know what I mean? Like you have to pitch 11 balls to Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Before that bat's over. Okay. So I don't know about that, but I'll say that. I mean, it's cheap enough at 6,500. I see him at 5% ownership. I don't know. I think I will have made worse plays than taking the shot. Don, I have him rated sort of similarly, like not really that great here. 10-12% ownership. 8K seems reasonable. So listen, I'll get rid of Ross. So let's replace. Who do I replace him with? Who's better, Rodon? Okay, just because Minnesota's worse than the Yankees, we'll stick this one. So we'll put Rodon in for now.
Yeah.
As far as hitting goes, I think that you certainly need to put the Yankees in play here. They're not like one of my top stacks, but they're certainly like top 5 or 6, and they just have too many bats to exclude them. So yeah, so I like the Yankees a little bit. I like Paddock a little bit. I like Rodon a little bit. That's just kind of where I am.
Yeah, I have the little bit thing a little bit with this game as well. I actually think Paddock is a much better play than people think. I mean, the Yankees don't strike out a ton against righties, about 23%. That's still a high enough rate where I'd be willing to take some shots there. The problem is it's not like the Yankees of the past that I've been okay to pick on, because literally you just put a guy like Juan Soto who sees he's like 2nd or 3rd in baseball every year in terms of most pitches taken. That stuff is like the nightmare for your pitchers. And Aaron Judge is already one of those guys. So it's a little tricky to get through, and it's hard to if you did play Paddock, like you don't play him. I don't even know what his price is on FanDuel, but you definitely don't play him on FanDuel, because I don't know how. Like I could see him going 4 innings and having like 7 strikeouts and giving up a couple runs, which is fine. But literally, it's going to be hard for him to get to me work deep in the game in this one. But I think Rodon's interesting. I think I'm more on the pitching side. I don't really have any interest with the Yankees, to be honest. It is, there was 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. It's a nice day in Minnesota, 71 degrees. We haven't been seeing as much of that lately, but I think both these pitchers are very heavily in play here. So I'm on board with this. So far, every pitcher, I feel like, I don't know what happened for a while, some of these slates where I felt like I couldn't find anybody I like. And now it's like, no, I actually have to make some decisions between multiple guys that I like. All right. Cleveland and Texas. No, that's right. Cleveland, Texas.
Cleveland's a tough matchup for Jack Leiter, who hasn't gotten anybody out all season. I have Cleveland as one of the better values today, but I don't have them projecting all that high. I was expecting to see them a little bit better. But so I have them 4th, 5th, something like that. As far as the hitting goes, nothing really. So, as far as the pitching goes, kind of nothing really. So I would say Texas as usual. They are probably expensive, but I have them as rated 3rd, kind of overall. So I think both sides of the hitting here work. So Cleveland and Texas hitting, neither of the pitchers.
Yep, I am on the same. There's no way in a million years I'd play either of these pitchers. Although that we said this yesterday, and there literally was like 1 hit between both teams through 7 innings. Did you see that? And then Cleveland scored like 7 in the 8th or whatever, or in the last 2. I love Texas today. It's funny because I keep talking about how Texas hasn't been the same offense. They're still 6th in the league in OPS against right-handed pitching, and that's with probably certainly a lower home run total as a team than you would expect for them to have. They're way down the line for that. But even with that, they Plenty of doubles, plenty of extra base hits. They have a really elite offense that when it clicks is really tough. And I think that they're reasonable. And I think Cleveland's reasonable. So I'm okay with both sides of it. The problem I just go over and over again with Cleveland is, man, I'd like to see some other power upside outside of where does Cleveland stand this year, actually. They're a little better than they've been in the past, I think. Why can't I find them? Oh, they're not great. They're whatever. They're the bottom 20. They're the 20th against right-handed pitching. This is while they're playing great. But you do have that Manzardo who might be in the lineup again at 2.2, probably a pinch hit risk. But Tyler Freeman's cheap, Will Brennan's cheap, and then you can round it out with the great one, Jose Ramirez. So this whole game is definitely appealing to me, but especially the Texas side.
Yeah, Evan Carter may or may not play. Just something to keep an eye on. Says he's getting a cortisone shot yesterday, so we'll see how that.
I don't think he will play for what it's worth, and that really opens up Texas because then you get like Jankowski at 2.3 most likely. Oakland and Houston.
Yeah, so as usual, Houston is kind of this is what happens all the time. So Houston's going to show up as good, kind of expensive stack fodder, and Oakland's going to show up as kind of cheap stack fodder. And I actually don't mind Oakland here. I mean, I kind of think this could be kind of a fraud. I don't know. I'm just literally just like making it up, but I'm not as afraid of Blanco as other people might be. I don't know. So I'll take a shot with some Oakland. Listen, I'm not going to put my whole bankroll on them tonight, but I think that you play those same cheap guys from Oakland. I wouldn't mind. They don't really. It's so funny I say that. They don't even rate that high for me, but I just presume they're going to be okay. So Houston, yes. Oakland, some, and I'm not going to play Blanco, and I'm not going to play Sears.
Yeah, I honestly am having a hard time seeing why the Astros are so bad when I look at some of the event, like the numbers. I mean, they're the fourth best team basically versus left-handed pitching in terms of OPS, which is something. I take that stat seriously, and I don't know. It's a tricky one. I don't love picking on Spears though. I'm Sears. I actually think Sears is a better pitcher than he gets credit for. I don't want to play him. He's 6,100 in a different matchup. I might, but when you match Houston's, fourth with an OPS and then even strikeout wise, they're just not high enough on my list. So I can't quite get to the Sears. Where are they actually with the lefty strikeouts? I'm just double checking some things. Yeah, they don't strike out a ton. I'm not going to play Blanco. I think that's okay. That's not true. I might play Blanco, and it has more to do with the A's than it does anything else. I don't know what I don't think I'm gonna. I thought Houston would be popular, so my plan was just to fade them at no ownership or low ownership. I can talk myself into Houston a little bit. I guess I didn't want to do it, but man, you look at some of the numbers, and they're playing terrible. They have these numbers. I don't know. I think I might talk myself into Houston a little bit later. I got to decide between them and Texas and Pittsburgh so far, and then obviously.
Yeah, I like Texas so far the best.
I think so too. Me too. St. Louis and the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, as usual, St. Louis is going to look cheap, and they can't hit. So it's.
Well, they exploded last night, and they had like one hit, and then they scored 8 in the 8th inning.
They did.
Right? I think.
You got Dylan Carlson at 2,100, among other things. So you can play all these guys: Newt Barr, Burleson, Norman. You can even get in Gorman. You can get in Goldschmidt if you want. And Detmers is, he can give up some stuff. Sonny Gray got kind of rocked as big chalk, I think, in his last outing.
Yeah.
Still, 10-5 is kind of rough, but it's a good matchup. It's good. I don't think people are. Well, I was about to say I don't think people are going to play him. I am seeing 15% ownership, so maybe not as sneaky as I think it is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play the Angels. I'll end up playing some Cardinals just because of how cheap they are.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to play Detmers? Boy, maybe I do. I don't know. Is this a 4-pronger? I don't know. I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I feel like it's a no-pronger for me. I don't really know. Like, yeah, sure. Like, Sonny Gray is completely viable, and this, like, I think has tremendous upside here, and he's not going to get a ton of ownership. So that's the one that I think that would be the most interesting thing play in the game to me. But I don't really want to play Detmers, although I mean, man, what has happened to these Cardinals? This used to be our lefty mashing team, everybody on this lineup, and now I guess they just changed their minds. They don't do it anymore. I think I'm just like basically off the hitting in this game, and maybe that's a mistake, but I like a lot of other things, so I'm probably just going to skip it. All right. The first in home runs that's the Oakland A's not playing tonight. I'm sure I'll regret it. So in the last 2 weeks, the A's have the most home runs, RBIs, and OPS. I don't know if that's actually accurate, so I would double check that.
I've heard that today, by the way.
It's possible. It is definitely possible. It's weird though, because like, I mean, I don't know how these guys do it and never, they don't win games.
Because nobody notices because there are only 600 people at the games.
No, but they don't win any of these games, and they're scoring like 3 runs.
Three solo homers every day.
Yeah, like is that what it is? I don't really. Yeah, and also like yeah, okay, whatever. All right, so next up, San Diego, Colorado, or no? Which one do you have?
No, I have Cincinnati, Arizona next.
It's hard when they're all at the exact same time, and I'm trying to go through screen. Sorry about that.
There are 3 of them at 9:40. So Cincinnati, Arizona. Hunter Green is not really projecting all that great today, and as a result, his ownership is low. I mean, he always has upside. It was definitely not something you really want to do is play pitchers in Arizona, but what about having rate? I'm like 10th or something like that. I don't know. I'll probably get to him in some MME, but he's not going to be a priority. Certainly not better than a couple of guys we've mentioned already. I'm not going to play Ciccone. What I am interested in is playing Cincinnati. They actually rate to be the top value for me today. So we'll
have that much value.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Ford and Hurt Boosie or something maybe. Because I was looking at
the getting the Jacob Hurtsby and the Connor Capel, Mike Ford, Will Benson, Jake Fraley. Those are the cheap guys. So you include those with the Dela Cruz and the whatever, and maybe more.
I don't think most of those guys are playing today, but we'll see. That's an interesting one. Yeah, it seems pass at this owner. Well, okay, pass at Saberson's ownership. I'm open to it. What I think their ownership actually will be. If you're going to tell me Cincinnati's the most popular team on the road with one of the biggest stadium downgrades because they hit in the second best hitters park and now they're playing Arizona with the roof closed, yeah, that's going to be an easy fade for me. Individually, though, I just in a vacuum, I don't mind them. Just if you told me that they were going to be the same, and at the same time, I don't necessarily mind Arizona and Hunter Green. I just don't think I'm going to play on this slate. But yeah, like you said, he's always got upside. I'm looking at his K prop today. It's almost 6. That's reasonable. Or his K expectation. Yeah, I think that this is probably a game I don't end up doing too much with, unless Cincinnati does end up low on, because I don't mind that idea, Sheets. I think that Cincinnati is reasonable. I just don't want to play it in that chalk if that ends up happening.
So I like we go into Kansas City, Seattle, and I have a similar similar view of it's not exactly the same as last night, but I do like both sides of this game as far as the pitching goes. I do like Logan Gilbert. I thought that he would show up as like closer to the best play. I actually have him pretty even with Sale and way behind Cease. We'll get to in a minute, I guess. But I mean, these Seattle guys, when they get it going, man, they're tough. So I do like him. And Walker's a guy I never seem to kind of get on. Every once in a while, I see him put up ceilings for other people. I don't mind him today in this against Seattle. I don't know. So I actually do like a little bit of Walker. I like both pitchers here, and not really getting to the hitting right now.
Yeah, this is like to me, a very much a 3-pronger. I love Logan Gilbert. it's really hard to not play any pitcher at 6,800 against Seattle. Seattle strikes out so much more than everybody else in baseball. They're striking out more than 30% of the time. I mean, it's ridiculous numbers against righties. So I absolutely have to have some, and like you said, I don't usually play, well, you know me, I'm usually the fade Waka. But the other part of me wants to say, well, maybe we should be talking about some Seattle today. So that's where I'm sort of stuck here, because I kind of like Seattle a little bit as a low-owned stack, and but I also like Waka as a potential priority pitcher. So it's sort of talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I definitely could get behind. I don't think Seattle will stay this bad all year, and I think there is some pop in there, and there's certainly some cheap bats. So I can get behind the idea of some Seattle here, even though I do like Waka and Gilbert, and I have them both as currently two of my 4 favorite pitchers.
So Dylan Cease is projected like 6 points higher than everybody else. He has like a median projection of like 25, which is the way baseball projections work. Even though everybody knows he's probably going to get more than that, like the median projection of 25 is pretty high, and it's much higher than really anybody else. It's the matchup is pristine. And he's 11K, which makes it pricey, but he could get 40 or whatever. So definitely is the best pitcher on the slate. He's definitely going to be owned as the best pitcher on the slate. I have 40% right now, not much else to say. I'm not getting to the other pitcher, and I'm not getting to the Padres. To answer that question, it's just really just Cease and figure out if it's too chalky to play him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm look, it's really hard not to make him like the clear obvious number 1 pitcher on the slate. Like, you have a team that's been horrible against L pitching on the road, a huge stadium downgrade. They have a 2.4 run total. I really don't know how Dylan Cease is not the obvious 1A starter. The only thing is, like, if you wanted to get different, or if you wanted to stack up a more expensive stack, it'd be hard to do with Cease, but maybe you can play him with a guy like Joe Ross. I mentioned Priester, and I think there may be some value, that we may not even know about yet. So I certainly have Cease as number 1, and I don't really think it's like, I don't have anybody in the same ballpark, to be honest with you. I think he's going to end up like in high buy-ins. I think he might be like 75%, 80% owned.
Well, let me ask you this: like, so if you want to play the Dodgers, like for example, or Atlanta or Texas or whatever, can you do that with playing Cease? Probably, right? Because you could play.
Yeah, you could play
Paddock. You could play Paddock. You could play Waka even. Yeah, I guess you can make it work.
Joe Ross, not to mention the value that, I mean, when teams go, like if you want to play Atlanta, I mean, and you mentioned with Texas now has a guy at 2.3 and a guy at 3K in their lineup, so it makes it a lot easier to do than it was earlier in the season.
Right.
Because they really did a good job of pricing, and it's not they did a bad job. It's just hard to price everybody at a certain price who never plays, and has always been terrible. But yeah, I think Cease is going to end up, whatever people think the ownership number is going to be on him, just add like, I don't know. I would add in single entry, he'll be 90% or 80%. I really believe that. I mean, his projection is a whole different stratosphere. His expected strikeouts are too higher than anybody else on the slate. It's just the price thing, but I think you probably eat it and mostly play him. That's my thought. Because the thing is, it's not like if he has a game, you're like dead without him. You know what I mean? And you're not worried about him putting up 20 something. But yeah, 40 is like a real possibility. He's been over 29 4 of his last 5 starts. And now you've got this is the best matchup he's had of any of those. So I think we got to do it. It's really annoying to me because I was the big Dylan Cease guy, and I caught him on the way up. And then when he struggled and everything, I kept sort of stubbornly playing him. And then somehow this year, everybody knew magically he was going to get back to being awesome again. And I tried to fade it for a while. It didn't work out. All right. Dodgers and San Fran.
Dodgers and San Fran. So now we get Stone pitching. I'm not really getting to him. Certainly not going to get. Should I get to K-Win? I'm not getting to him. I'm right now, at least. I'm just looking at he can do anything. Oh, look at these numbers. Well, listen, before he got rocked, he's had 3 kind of amazing efforts, and he's only 5K.
I think he was in all of my lineups on all those cases.
Okay.
I played him a bunch this year.
Okay. But the Dodgers are looking to be the top scoring stack today, and if you can afford them, you should try to get to them. And that's pretty much my opinion on this game.
Yep. I would say that if you want to, I would not play Gavin Stone as like a priority thing. I would definitely include him in like 150 max stuff. I wouldn't cross him out, I guess is my take on him. And look, it's the Dodgers. You know how I feel about them. It's always going to be a team that I'm going to have some stacks of. Got off to a nice start. Mookie got right. There was some tough plays last night. There was 2 big like extra base hits that were robbed with multiple runners on, and that could have really set them over the edge. But they did get the extra inning run, so I can't get too upset. But I like the Dodgers, and I think that's my. I think it's my. Boy, it's really close. I think I have Texas still number 1. I like Pitt as a cheaper stack, and I like Atlanta and the Dodgers and Houston. I feel like that sounds really chalky, but I don't think that's actually going to be that chalky. In fact, I'm having a very hard time figuring out what the ownership is actually going to be today. Like, I don't have any – I'm looking at Goldie's projections, and there's no hitters from the same teams that he's got over 10%, except for 2 from Cleveland at over 10%. That it means that it's going to be spread out. And I really wouldn't worry too much about ownership unless we think something trends a different direction. I'm not going to worry about it. I just think you play the stack you feel like gives you the best chance to win. Texas, Dodgers, Atlanta, and Pittsburgh are the ones for me. And pitching, I have C's number 1 by a million miles, Gilbert number 2. On the cheap end, Ross, Priester, Waka. And mid-range, Rodon. Those are the guys who I like the most. I don't know what I'm going to do with Sonny Gray and Chris Sale unless the Pirates like release them or something happens where I can get a ton of value in. That's the only way I consider playing both those guys together.
So I'm very glad that you went straight into the summary because it was testing without me asking you to test it. And this weird theory I had is that so there's another game on the slate, okay?
Oh, the Washington.
So Washington against the White Sox, and it's like the second. I think it's the second end of a doubleheader because yesterday's game was canceled.
Yeah.
To the point where like you see red here, like half of these guys aren't even projected in some of the places. And I gotta say that if you didn't like anything that we said already, dude, let me tell you something. The Chicago White Sox are just the worst, okay? And they're
I don't think we're going to count that game. Oh yeah, it's unusable. They announced it's unusable on DraftKings.
Sure?
I'm reading the note right now.
Oh crap. Okay.
But I kind of liked where you were going.
I mean, I think Mitchell Parker would be like a lock. I mean, I would have totally played him in my big mind, especially if this was just buried at the end and there was red and all this stuff, and like they haven't decided what they're going to do with it yet. Because the White Sox are literally dead last against lefties, like in like every metric in the universe.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the last game on the slate, just buried over there. But if you're telling me it's not usable, then forget it. So
unfortunately, it's not. But it's because I actually thought about him, but I also thought about Fedde. I understand that Fedde's the guy who picked on, but Fedde's been like he's been a rock star this year. I mean,
he's almost a thing. You know what I mean? Like
it's crazy how this happens. But I mean, look, and we have to, for me, it's a reminder to myself. I've got to not get my pigeonholed brain into what's actually happening. Pitchers change pitch types. They work like crazy in the offseason, and you might see guys become completely different pitchers over the offseason.
Chris Paddock, Exhibit B. I mean, like.
Yeah. Well, Chris Paddock, I feel like at least – see, this is the thing is he was never like this when he was supposed to be like this, and now he's back like – you know what I mean? It's like they finally figured it out.
So this game, what you're saying is not usable on the slate. Okay.
Yeah, it says not. See, do you have the sign up there? If you close that screen,
okay.
It says no, the game is not usable.
The information. Oh, the game. It says.
Oh, mine says the Washington. No, it says Washington.
No, which game? I mean.
Oh, the second game.
You sure that they mean the
Yeah,
same?
look, yeah. Try click on one of the players. They're all in red.
No, I know they're in red. Okay. All right, fair enough.
Well, I mean, we'll know before.
Oh no, I'm sure. But it'd be nice if they dropped it off the.
Yeah. No, I know. I don't understand why they don't have the technology to do that.
Why would you drop it off the panel here? You know, if it's gonna.
Yeah.
So they're gonna say you can play guys from the game, but you're not gonna get any points for it.
That's right.
Terrific.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I want to have a quick second with you after this, if you can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.